it's on. Hi everyone, so back again to my video. Now we are going to solve for the E-Maths paper 2020. This is a paper 1 question suggested solution. So, well, I believe that all of them should be correct, but if you notice anything wrong with it, please tell me, so I will update my video. For a quick one, you can actually take a look at my description below. I actually put the link for the number question, so you actually can jump to the question that you want to find out the solutions. Okay, so without further ado, let's start our question today. Question 1. The roots of a quadratic equation given to be this. The roots are also alpha and beta. Okay, find a quadratic equation whose roots are alpha over beta and beta over alpha. Okay, I think it's quite standard. From these roots given, I can find the alpha plus beta, which is negative of negative 5 divided by 2. That will be 5 over 2. Alpha times beta will be 8 divided by 2, which is actually 4. Now, to get the equation with the roots given here, I need to find the summation of the roots. So when I set this up, make the same denominator, I will end up with alpha square plus by beta square over alpha beta. Okay, now alpha beta is actually ready to be 4, but we need to find out alpha square plus beta square. Okay, so with this given, alpha square plus beta square, we actually can just revise into the formula back in sec 3, alpha plus beta bracket square. Okay, this is alpha square plus 2 alpha beta plus by beta square. Put in the number, so I'll get 5 over 2 bracket square equals to alpha square plus by beta square plus by 2 times alpha beta, meaning to say 2 times 4, which is 8. Okay, make the alpha square plus beta square as the subject, and that will easily gives you somewhere around negative 7 over 4. Okay, so continuing this, I'll use negative 7 over 4 divided by alpha beta, which is 4 itself. Hence, I'll get negative 7 over 16. Okay, let's keep this. This will be our sum of the roots. Next is product alpha over beta multiplied by beta over alpha. Well, interestingly, this will cancel up together when you multiply them, resulting in 1. Hence, I'll just take this number 1. That's it. Quite simple. Okay, hence, to get the equation that I asked you, I just need to take x squared minus by the summation multiply by x plus by the product equate to 0. Okay, we like to leave everything in terms of integers, whole number, so let's multiply everything by 16, giving us 16x squared plus by 7x plus by 16 equals 0. Question 2. Well, there are two parts here. The first is indices. I need to show this complicated number such that it will be simplified into 2, 3, and 5. All of them are prime numbers. Okay, so let's start. First, given a power of negative, I like to make it into positive power. So then I get 3 over 50. Multiply by 3, power of 3 square rooted. So power of 3 over 2. Okay, divided by 5 over 2, the same like multiply by 2 over 5. Yeah. Simplify this. Well, for the first term, I'll get 3 power of 2. I will not leave this as 9. Okay, I'll leave it as 3 power of 2. 50. Now 50 itself, I need to put it in terms of prime number. Okay, this is because the question asks you to fulfill your answer as prime numbers 2, 3, and 5. So I break down the 50. I'll break it down into 2 multiplied by 5 square, because 5 square is actually 25. 25 times 2 is 50. Okay, however, this one here is still under the power of 2. So I'll keep it like that. Multiply by this and multiply by that. Okay, the over 5 I can bring it to the numerator, so then I get 5 power negative 1. Okay, so now inside of the bracket I get 3 power of 2 multiplied by, now the denominator here, carefully bring this to the numerator. Okay, that means to say that you need to apply power of negative. So if I do step by step, I'll put this down along with the rest of them. Okay, I think we don't need any more bracket, we can just release the bracket. So then I get 3 power of 2 multiply 2 power of negative 2, 5 power negative 4, 3 power 3 over 2, 2, and 5 power negative 1. Okay, collect the 3 together, I'll get 3 power of 7 over 2. and then for the 2, power of negative 1. For the 5, I'll get 5 power negative 5. Yes, this will be it. Okay, so the A, B, and C respectively 7 over 2, negative 1, and negative 5. Next, the value of a painting increases by 7% each year. Okay, I think this is about percentage, somewhat coming up in the A maths. The value of the beginning is 1 million. Okay, then it increased each year by 7%. Find the beginning at 2020, the amount of it. Okay, so at 2014, the account is 1 million. Okay, if we think about 2015, this is a year after. So you apply the 1 million, multiply this by 1.07. Okay, I don't want to calculate this. I would say it's terrible. Okay. Now the idea is that when you continue on, right, you are going to take the previous answer and multiply again by 1.07. Meaning to say the answer from the previous part here, I'll just put a number here, and again I multiply by 1.07. Okay, alternatively, I can also write this down as 1 million times by 1.07 power of 2. Alright, because it's just continuation of multiplication by 1.07. This will happen for 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 as well. Okay, so if we jump to the 2020, right, we actually applied the 1.07 several times already. Okay, and if you calculate 2015, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So by the time we are actually at 2020, we put power of 6 here. Okay, press this in calculator, I will get somewhere around 1500.352. Okay, put this into two significant figures, so it's just $1,500,000. Okay. Question 3. Partial fraction here. Well, check that there is a power of 2 here and power of 2 here. The power are equal. If the power are equal or the numerator power is greater than the denominator, we need to do a long division. So the first step is actually to long divide this. Okay. The first thing is put the number 2, giving us 4x squared minus by 2x minus by 6. Eliminate them, I'll get negative 5x, and then 9 plus 6 is 15. Yeah, and this is it. We cannot divide this anymore. Hence, we can say that the answer is 2 plus by negative 5x plus by 15 divided by, well, still the 2x squared minus x minus 3. Okay, now we need to do a partial fraction, but before that, we have to simplify the fraction here. Whenever you want to do partial fraction, please make sure that the denominator is actually fully factorized. Okay, let's just go on to get the factor form. We have this and that. Okay, I believe that all of you know how to factorize them. Okay, so now let's focus on how do we get the partial fraction from here. Okay, take down these fractions. Okay, this is just a simple denominator. I just need to split this into 2. A divided by 2x minus 3, and then b divided by x plus 1. Okay, now let's make the same denominator on the right hand side, giving us a of x plus 1, and then b of 2x minus 3. Okay, this will be equals to negative 5x plus by 15, the numerator on the left hand side. Okay, by comparison or maybe by substitution, whichever you like to do, okay, we can find out the value of a and b. Let's say I will do substitution. I put x equals negative 1. That will give me 20 on the left, and then on the right hand side I'll get negative 5b. So then b is actually negative 4. If you let x to be, well, this one will be 3 over 2 then. Okay, or you can use any number, doesn't have to be a fraction actually. Okay, this will give us 7.5 on the left hand side. On the right hand side, 3 over 2 plus 1 times by a, that would be 2.5a. So then a must be 3 units. Okay, so the final answer is 2, remember the 2 from the earlier part, plus by a, which is now a 3, over 2x minus 3, and then b, which is a minus 4, over x plus 1. Okay. Okay, next is question 4. We have a graph here. The diagram shows the graph given the formula already. Then find the value of x when y is increasing. Okay, this is a differentiation question. We need to find out the dy dx. So let's try to differentiate this. This will be about quotient rule. Okay, so differentiate the numerator, I get 2. Copy the denominator, x squared plus 4. Minus by, copy up the numerator, then differentiate the denominator. All of this divided by denominator power of 2. Okay, right, so we just need to simplify this. You have 2x squared plus by 8 minus by 4x squared plus by 6x, whole thing of x squared plus 4 bracket square. Okay, simplify further, giving us negative 2x squared plus 6x plus 8. Okay, now if we want an increasing function, okay, we must make sure that this is greater than 0, because we need the gradient to be positive. Alright, with that condition, let's try to take a look at the fractions here. Okay, now pay attention that there is actually a quite interesting denominator here. This denominator here, no matter what, is always positive. Okay, okay, actually always non-negative. That is actually more accurate, because it's possible to get a 0 lah. Although to get a 0 in this occasion will be kinda not allowed, because you have fraction which is denominator of 0, cannot solve. Okay, but more importantly is that the denominator cannot be negative. Okay, now in that case, right, we actually therefore tell them that the numerator shall be greater than 0. Okay, because well, the condition is that they want it to be positive number, right? The numerator must be positive and the denominator must be positive. Alright, so we are just simplifying the inequality. Instead, we have to solve this inequality. Okay, this is now turns up into a discriminant question. Okay, quadratic inequality and discriminant. Although I don't think we are going to do discriminant specifically here lah. Yeah, so we have this, factorize the equation, or you can also multiply the negative if you don't really like a negative as a starter. Okay, don't forget to swap the inequality. Okay, you can factorize this. I'll get x minus 4 and x plus 1 lesser than 0. Now, I always like to sketch this equation. Okay, this is a smiling curve because this is a positive x squared. This equation should be positive 4 and negative 1 if you try to solve it. But since you are trying to sketch it, just put down negative 1 and positive 4 here. Okay, since they want it to be lesser than 0 also, your area that is interested to be the answer must be below the x-axis. Okay, hence we can tell them that the value of x must be between negative 1 and positive 4. Question 5. This is a modulus equation. Now before we start, right, I like to comment on some properties of a modulus equation. If they give you this equation of a modulus, right, this is actually means that this graph is made by two different lines. The first line that is upwards is actually the equation of y equals to 2x minus 7. The gradient is positive because it's going up. The next one, the line that is actually on the left, this equation here is the y equals 7 minus 2x. Since the gradient is negative because the line is going down. Okay, hence if you want to find the y-intercept, it's quite simple, it's just 7 over here. Okay, now to the question, they ask you, right, there is a line of y equals mx minus 2. M is constant number, cuts the line that we have here at two distinct points, so they cut twice. Explain why the gradient must be between 4 over 7 and positive 2. Okay, now let's add a line passing through negative 2. Okay, you see negative 2 here, it means that the y-intercept at negative 2. Okay, now what kind of line do we expect? Okay, now let's just imagine that the line is actually parallel with the 2x minus 7. Okay, meaning to say that the line is exactly like this. Now, this kind of line has no intersection. I mean, well, they intersect only one time lah. Okay, and that is the intersection over here. Okay, this is only happen if the gradient is the same. That is to say they are actually parallel. Okay, on the next occasion, I need to consider the case where they actually intersect one time only again, but on this occasion. Okay, they cut exactly here because, well, this is the moment that they're still intersecting one time only. Okay, now let's find out where is this value exactly. Since we are actually using the line over here, okay, we can use this. Let y equals 0. Okay, I will get x to be 7 over 2, or that is 3.5. So this point here is 3.5, 0. Okay, yeah. So you see that my point is that the two lines that we made here is to make sure that there is only one intersection. If you want to get two intersection, right, the line must be somewhere in between these two different lines. Okay, for example, just imagine the line is like this. Surely you can tell that there are two intersections over here. Okay, now, so the only thing that we need to do now is actually find out this gradient. Okay, so let's think about this line passes point 0, negative 2 and 3.5, 0. Okay, so what's the gradient? 0 minus negative 2 divided by 3.5 minus 0. That will be 2 over 3.5, which is 4 over 7. Okay, this is the gradient that we are looking just now. So let's put it down. 4 over 7. Okay, hence 4 over 7 lesser than m lesser than 2 is required, so that the line y equals mx minus 2 passes the modulus graph twice. Okay, in terms of presentation here, quite difficult to actually do this with numerical. I mean, the numerical calculation is only this part. Okay, I will suggest that you need to explain this with sentence about how you actually draw the lines, how it actually passed the 3.5, 0 one time, and also when the gradient of 2 is perfectly parallel and therefore only intersect one time. Okay, apart from that, yeah, this is just the explanation for this question. Question 6. Find the coordinates of the stationary point of the curve and determine the nature of each stationary point. Okay, I suppose they are claiming that there are more than just one stationary points. Okay, first of all, to find the stationary point, you need to prepare dy dx, which gives us 2x plus by, okay, this one here, I like to put it down like 4x power of negative 2. Okay, use your indices. So when you differentiate, you know that you just need to bring down the negative 2, repeat the 4, then the x power of negative 3. Okay, simplify this, I'll get 2x minus 8 over x power of 3. Okay, to get the stationary point, I need to let this to be 0. Okay, quite classic. So I'll just separate them on each side, cross multiply them, and then divide by 2. Okay, root this by 4. Okay, if you want to do step by step, you get x squared equals to plus minus 2, and then you got your x to be plus minus square root of 2. Okay, there are two answers, 2 and root 2 and negative root 2. Now, to check the nature of the stationary point, we need to prepare for the d square y over dx square, second derivative test. I think this is the faster method, okay, rather than the first derivative. Differentiate the equation of dy dx one more time. Okay, just now we were having the differentiation already here, so let's just differentiate this equation. I'll get 2. Okay, then likewise the x power of negative 3, because you need to use indices. Put down the negative 3, repeat the 8, x power of negative 4. Okay, so this will be 2 plus by 24 over x power of 4. Okay, now two values we need to check. First is the square root of 2. This will give us d square y dx square to be, well, this thing here will be positive number because it's 2 plus by 24 divided by square root of 2, you power by 4, you'll get 4. Okay, I don't really care about what is the result. What makes it important is just whether it's positive or negative. Okay, negative root 2 you need to check as well. And I would say that the result is actually kind of the same here. Plus by this divided by this. Okay, let's just calculate this lah. This is positive number again lah, 8. Okay, hence, okay, the stationary point are actually maximum. Alright, but before we actually find out, tell them about the nature, right? We need to also tell them about the exact coordinate. Okay, so when x equals to root 2, you put back into your y, you'll get 2 plus by 4 over 2. That will be 4. Okay, likewise for negative root 2, pretty much the same. You'll get 4 also. Okay, so each of the coordinate root 2, 4 and negative root 2, 4 are minimum point. Okay, minimum point because that the second derivative test give us positive answer. Question 7. Solve the equation of a trigo. Now, whenever you want to solve a trigo, you must make sure there is only one trigo involved. There are so many trigo in here, so let's try to simplify them. 3 cosine A equals 1 over cosine A minus by 5 of sine A over cosine A. Okay, too many cosine. Okay, let's try to simplify the right hand side, giving us 1 minus by this over cosine A, 3 cosine A. Okay, this is 3 cosine A over 1. I'll cross multiply the equation. So multiply here and multiply there. Okay, this will give us 3 cosine square A equals 1 minus 5 sine A. Well, now we are down to 2 trigos only, and this one here, I'll just make cosine square into sine square. Okay, the formula is cosine square is 1 minus sine square A. Okay, this is from the sine square plus cosine square equals 1 formula. Okay, just manipulate this, giving us these values. Okay, let's move everything to the same side. Yeah, we are going to get this. Simplify further, giving us 3 sine square A minus 5 sine A minus 2 equals 0. Factorize this. Okay, this is a quadratic, so you just need to use your calculator to factorize them if you like to. Okay, yeah, so there are two answers. First, sine A equals 2. This thing here is impossible because whenever you have a trigo of sine and cosine, you cannot exceed 1 and negative 1. Okay, well, whereas this one here is actually quite plausible. Okay, we put down as sine A equals negative 1 over 3. Okay, that's the only possible solution. To find the angle A, I need to find out the basic angle. Okay, which is sine inverse of 1 over 3. Okay, that will be 19.47 degree. Okay, well, the use of basic angle is to find out where the location of the angle supposed to be. Okay, now sine is negative. Okay, if you remember the quadrant ASTC, okay, we are looking for sine that is negative, so you need to find a location that is not belong to sine. That is this location here and this location there. Okay, take a look at the angle here and here. Okay, this is the angle of 19.47 located at. Okay, yeah, so you tell them that the angle A, there are 180 plus by 19.47 or 360 minus by 19.47. which is 199.5. Okay, put in 1 dp. 340.5. Okay, all of them in 1 decimal places. Whenever you answer in angles, please correct this into 1 decimal places. Okay. Question 8. The remainder when x cubed plus ax is divided by x minus 2. Okay, we are going to divide them, and they say there's a remainder. We'll have the same remainder when it is divided by x plus 1. So let's try. Okay, use x equals 2. Okay, this is applying the remainder theorem. Let x equals 2. Okay, we have the function f bracket 2 equals 2 cubed plus by 2a. Okay, and this is actually our remainder. Okay, simplify this, you'll get 8 plus 2a. Likewise, you can let x equals negative 1. Okay, you have f bracket negative 1 equals negative 1 power of 3 minus by a. Again, this is our remainder. So then we have minus 1 minus a. Okay, this is by remainder theorem. Okay, good presentation to explain what theorem you are using. Alright, so simply now you just tell them that since the remainder are equal, I can just equate them together. Okay, you'll get 3a equals negative 9, so then a is negative 3. Okay, very simple. Next question is question B. Solve the equation of x cubed minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okay, this kind of question here, you need to solve it using the calculator. Okay, just simply press the button mod 34. Okay, a few answers that is going to pop up is that, well, the best one is let x equals 3. Okay, now tell them that you are letting x equals 3, then you get these values, 3 power of 3 minus by 2 times this and everything else. Okay, which will work out to be 0. Tell them that x minus 3 bracket is a factor of the equation. Okay, by factor theorem. Okay, nice. Now, to find out the rest of them, you can do a long division or by comparison method. Let's just do a long division here. We have x cubed minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 3 divided by x minus 3. Put an x squared gives us x cubed minus by 3x squared. Then you'll get negative 2 minus negative 3, so you get positive x squared. Bring down the negative 4x, so next number is x itself. X times x is this, negative 3 times x is this, minus them again, you'll get negative x. And finally, bring down the 3. Okay, that means I'll consider negative 1, giving us negative x plus 3 as well. Okay, no remainder, so it's perfect. So we can conclude that the factors are x minus 3 and x squared plus x minus 1 equate to 0. Okay, so the solutions are, let each of the bracket to be 0. The first bracket equate to 0, that gives us x equals 3. Okay, and then x squared plus x minus 1 equals 0. This one we need to use the image formula. Negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4 multiply 1 multiplied by negative 1 divided by 2. This will give us negative 1 plus minus by root 5. Okay, so we have two answers. Negative 1 plus by root 5 over 2 and negative 1 minus by root 5 divided by 2, totaling into 3 answers. This, and positive 3 from earlier. Question 9. The equation of a circle given to be this. Find the radius and the center of the circle. Okay, this is quite straightforward if you remember the formula, but as for me, I like to complete the square. Okay, believe me that if you want to go to JC, completing the square is really important. Okay, as opposed to the formula that you can remember to actually find out the radius and the center of this equation. Okay, so let's do completing the square. Okay, put down x squared plus by 4x side by side. and then y square minus 6y side by side. The 12 you can kick away to the right hand side. Now, completing the square of the x, you'll get bracket x plus 2 bracket square minus by 4. Y square minus 6y, you'll get y minus 3 bracket square minus 9. Okay, hence I'll keep all the bracket square together, these values. Okay, and then 4 and 9 together move to the other side, giving us 25. Okay, yeah, so the coordinate of the center clearly is negative 2, 3, and the radius is square root of 25, which is actually 5. Find the equation of the tangent to the circle at the point of 1, 7. Okay, so let's try to illustrate this a little. The center here again is negative 2, 3. The radius is actually 5 units. Tangent to the circle at the point of 1, 7. So let's just imagine that 1, 7 is here. You are looking for a line that is tangent to it. Okay, now this kind of question here, we are going to use the properties of circle that you learn in E-maths, and that is there are actually tangent to the center of circle to be perpendicular. Okay, so first things first is that I'm going to find out the gradient of the perpendicular. Okay, let's use the red color. Gradient of the red line is 7 minus 3 divided by 1 minus negative 2, which is actually 4 divided by 3. Okay, and that means to say that the gradient of tangent must be negative of 3 over 4. Okay, this is gradient times gradient to be negative 1. Okay, perpendicular gradient. Hence, okay, we are looking for a line equation of gradient to be negative 3 over 4 and passes point 1, 7. Okay, y equals mx plus by c. Okay, put down the number. You have 7 equals negative 3 over 4 plus by c. So then c is 31 over 4. Yeah, all in all, you get the equation quite nicely. Okay, yeah, that should be good enough. Alright, question 10. This is a graph question of trigo. They give us y equals cosine 2x. There's another horizontal line here, passing at point A and point B. Okay, the first question is to find out the x coordinate of A and B. So just the x coordinate, no need for the y. Okay, we are going to approach this simply with simultaneous equation. Okay, because why? Remember that simultaneous equation solve for intersection between two equations. Okay, so simply just put cosine 2x equals negative of root 3 over 2. Okay, now we need to find out this. Let's do the basic angle. The basic angle will be cosine inverse of root 3 over 2. Okay, this is 30 degree. Okay, but mainly they want it in terms of pi. You can see the range here. Okay, even the graph itself has the range of pi over 2. Okay, and pi. So let's convert this into the radian mode. Divide by 180, multiply by pi, that will be pi over 6. Alright, so now you have the basic angle already. We can try to draw the quadrant. Okay, ASTC again. So this is cosine to be negative. If that's the case, we need to find out the area that the cosine doesn't belong. Quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. Therefore, this is the pi over 6. Okay, the angle. Hence, you tell them that the angle of 2x equals to pi minus pi over 6. And then pi plus by pi over 6. Okay. Simplifying this will give us the x value as 5 pi over 12 and 7 pi over 12. Okay, divide by 2. Okay, yeah, that should be good enough. Point A, okay, the value is 5 pi over 12, and the point B, the x value is 7 pi over 12. This is actually quite accurate. If you take a look, point A and point B, right, is pretty close to the pi over 2. Okay, I dare say that they are actually symmetrical distance to pi over 2 as well. Okay. Next question. Show all your working to find the exact area under the shaded region. Okay, so let's take a look about the graph itself. You want to find the shaded area over here. Okay, now to find the shaded area, I need to do integration. Okay, so I'll expect to integrate this equation. But since you want to find out only the shaded area, right? Okay, please be careful not to add everything. Okay, mainly you need to erase this part over here. Okay, the white part lah, but I color it into red. Okay, this part over here is actually just a simple rectangle. Okay, the rectangle, what is the width? Okay, just now we find the value of A and B. Okay, 5 pi over 12 and 7 pi over 12, meaning to say that the width is actually 7 minus 5 pi divided by 12, which is pi over 6. Okay, next also we need to find out the height of the rectangle. Quite simple, because we know that this is a root 3 over 2. Therefore, the height of the rectangle is root 3 over 2. Okay, yeah, that will be the rectangle area. Okay, so area of rectangle is root 3 over 2 multiplied by pi over 6, which is root 3 of pi divided by 12. Okay, yeah, let's keep this for now. We are going to go back to integration to find out the area under the graph. Okay, now our idea here is to integrate the cosine to x from a until b. A is 5 pi over 12 and b is 7 pi over 12. Then you minus by the rectangle area. Okay, now since the area that we are finding here is below x-axis, usually we are going to put a negative over here. Okay, but you know, if you are really don't want to bother with whether it's positive or is it negative, you know, I think right, you just put a modulus on it lah. Just put a modulus, so you don't need to really, you know, worried that whether you actually should put a negative or not. Simply put the modulus on the integration. Yeah, so integrating this, cosine to x will be negative sine to x. Wait, this is just a positive sine to x divided by 2. Okay, put down the range of values. 7 pi over 12, 5 pi over 12. Okay, minus by the rectangle area just now is root 3 pi over 12, I believe. Okay, then put in the number 7 pi over 12. Well, this is actually going to be pretty bad, but you can use calculator, so yeah, don't worry much about it. You'll get 7 pi over, you multiply by 2 and 12, you got divide by this, you got 7 pi over 6, and then minus by sine of, well, similarly 5 pi over 6. Okay, try to key this into the calculator. Okay, you are going to get half of negative half minus half. Yeah. Okay, what's left is just simplifying this. This is actually such a bad number. Negative 1 times half is negative half. Okay, but there's a modulus here, don't forget. So then you get positive 1 over 2. Okay, maybe I'll highlight it with the red color, modulus and everything. Okay, except the rectangle, of course. Okay, so half minus by root 3 of pi over 12. Okay, that should be the answer. Okay, so next is question 11. This is a motorcyclist traveling along a straight road, passes point A. 10 seconds later, it passes point B. The motorcyclist speed at B is twice of the speed at A. For the journey, the speed is V, the formula given to be this. Okay, K is a constant number. Find the speed of the motorcyclist at B. Well, this is the moment when the time is actually 10 seconds. Okay, but before that, okay, let's find out when the time is 0 and the time is actually 10. Okay, let's see. When you put the time is 0, you got V equals to 15 multiplied by 0 plus by e power of 0, which is 1. Okay, that will give us 15. For the time of 10, we don't need to calculate this because they say that B is actually twice the speed of A, right? So this is just 15 multiplied 2. You get 30. Yeah, quite simple. Okay. But what if we actually try to use the equation of the formula itself? I think that will actually benefit us. Okay. Although this question is only 1 mark, so we should leave our answer just like that. Okay. Now, how about the distance between A and B? Okay, let's try to continue what I said just now. I'll use the equation here. When the time is 10, the velocity is actually 30, right? Okay, put down the formula. 30 equals 15, bracket, time is t, which is 10 over 20, plus by e power of 10k. Yeah, divide the 15 away, I get 2. 10 over 20 is half, plus by e power of 10k. Yeah, I think we need this to find out the value of k, after all. Okay, yeah, move the half away, I get 3 over 2 equals to e power of 10k. Alright, then just simplify this using logarithm. Ln of 3 over 2 equals to 10k. Yeah, because you get ln of e power of k. This will approximately gives us 0.0405. Okay, let's just put in 3SF for now. Okay, anyway, find the distance between A and B. To find a distance, right? Okay, remember that distance equals to integration of the velocity. Okay, they give us a speed here, but it's totally fine to use it. Okay, in this occasion. Yeah, the velocity equation, well, it's given to be the 15 bracket t over 20 plus by e power of k. Well, this is a horrible number, but we need to put it down. Okay, yeah, dt. Then you integrate this from A to B, right? So 0 second until 10 seconds. Okay, yeah, to find the distance, I need to integrate this. I can take the 15 outside, so I just integrate the inside here. T over 20 will give us t square over 40. And then the exponential, nothing much happen, except that you divide by the coefficient there. dt. Oh wait, we actually have integrated already, so we shouldn't put this symbol. Okay, what we need to put is actually the bracket. 0 until 10. Okay, well, this is actually just a calculator method. Just put the 10 in, I'll get, okay, this is actually quite long. 39.49, then minus by somewhere around 24.66. Okay, approximately lah. Then you just use calculator to solve this. You'll get roughly around 222 meter. Okay, this is about the meter and second. So yeah, that should be good enough. Find the acceleration of the motorcyclist at the time of 2. Okay, so acceleration. Okay, you can get acceleration by differentiating your velocity. Okay, so the velocity is the one that they give us from the start. Okay, so we are going to differentiate the velocity, which is, okay, let me write down here again, 15 and then t over 20 plus by e power of kt. So dv dt. Okay, you can take 15, then just differentiate the bracket here. This 15 is just a bystander. Okay, 1 over 20 plus by, well, just now the k is the 0.045. 405, I mean. Then you put e power of this. Yeah, this is our acceleration. And then let t equals 2, okay, and just press calculator. That will give you somewhere around 1.40957.3. Okay, or just approximately put into 3SF 1.41. Okay, I think this would be good enough. Okay, question 12. Show that, well, this whole thing equals to tangent alpha. We can start by expanding everything here. So expanding sine alpha cosine beta plus by cosine alpha sine beta plus by, well, again, sine alpha cosine beta minus by cosine alpha sine beta. Whole thing divided by, now is cosine alpha cosine beta minus by sine alpha sine beta. Likewise, cosine alpha cosine beta plus by cosine sine alpha and sine beta. Okay, there are some things here you can cancel. Cosine alpha and sine beta from the numerator, these two are repeated. Whereas for the denominator, sine alpha sine beta is also repeated. Okay, now for the numerator we are left with these figures, which is duplicate. Likewise for the denominator, also a duplicate. So you will have two pieces of them, 2 sine alpha cosine beta divided by 2 cosine alpha cosine beta. Cancel the 2, cancel the cosine beta as well. Hence you'll get tangent alpha. Okay, hence you have proven it. Very easy. Okay, next, angles A and B are both acute angle. Alright, if they are acute angle, meaning to say they are in the quadrant 1, such that sine of A minus B is negative 3/5. Okay, now sine is naturally negative only on the quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. Okay, so if we see this A minus B, it's either in quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. However, please take note that A and B are both acute angle. Okay, in that case, it's only possible that we are ending up somewhere in the quadrant 4. Okay, the angle of sine of A minus B result in negative because A minus B is actually on the quadrant 4. Okay, this is only possible if angle A is actually lesser than angle B, since both are acute angles and A minus B ends up at quadrant 4. Okay, yes, so what can you deduce? Well, the deduce is actually angle A is smaller than angle B. Okay, simple as that. Find the value of cosine of A minus B. Well, we have sine A minus B negative 3/5. Let's just say that for simplicity, A minus B is actually theta. Okay, if I want to draw it, okay, draw a right angle triangle here. Let's call this angle as theta. Sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse, so the opposite is 3, the hypotenuse is 5. Using Pythagoras theorem, you'll get this as 4. Hence, you can tell that cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. And remember that theta is actually quadrant 4. Quadrant 4 is a location for cosine. So then cosine theta is 4/5. You don't need to put a negative number at all. Okay, that's the answer, 4/5. Next, cosine of A plus B is this, tangent of A plus B is that. Okay, take note, this is the same A and B that we done just now. Both A and B are acute angle, and they sum up into positive number. Okay, since both of them are positive number, result in positive number. Okay, A plus B is at quadrant 1. Okay, moreover, we have tangent as a sine over cosine. Okay, so tangent of A plus B is sine of A plus B divided by cosine of A plus B. Yeah, so 7/25 equals sine of A plus B divided by cosine of A plus B. I think I actually put the wrong number here. Tangent A plus B is 24/7, whereas cosine is the 7/25. Okay, cross multiply this, hence we are going to get sine of A plus B as, okay, I'll get 24/25. Yeah, that should be the answer. Okay, next, using identity from part 1, find out the value, show that the value of tangent A is actually 1/3. Okay, from the part 1, right, if we go back and copy the answer, we have sine A plus B plus by sine of A minus B divided by this. Okay, I just copied the question actually. Equals tangent A. Okay, instead of alpha and beta, I use A and B. Okay, so we are using the answer from part 4. Sine of A plus B is 24/25. Okay, sine of A minus B, well, we have it earlier, -3/5, correct? So let's just put it down, -3/5. Cosine of A plus B, from part 4 you have 7/25. And then cosine of A minus B, I think it's also given here. Yeah, 4/5. Yeah, so here we just plug in the number from our previous answer. Okay, so tangent A equals, okay, you can just press calculator, you'll get 1/3. Alright, hence, find the exact value of tangent B. Okay, what do we have here? Okay, we have a lot of information here, and the only one that has something to do with tangent and B is only from the part 4. Tangent A plus B is 24/7. So we might start with that first. Tangent of A plus B equals 24/7. Using the addition formula for tangent, you will have tangent A plus tangent B. Yeah, I think this will work. 1 minus tangent A and tangent B equals 24/7. Okay, tangent A, the value of it is 1/3. Leave the tangent B alone. 1 minus 1/3 of tangent B. Yes, from here onwards, you just need to make the tangent B as a subject. Okay, please remember also that angle B, right, okay, is actually on the quadrant 1, just like what we agreed on the earlier part. Okay, meaning to say it must be positive number. Okay, yeah, we cross multiply this whole thing and see what we get. Alright, I think this is actually quite a long thing. 7/3 plus by 7 of tangent B equals 24 minus by 8 of tangent B. Move the tangent B together, you got 15 of tangent B equals to 24 minus by 7/3, which is 21/2/3. Yeah, then you just divide the tangent B. Press your calculator for this. You'll get 13/9. Yeah, okay, and that's the answer. Okay, and that's all, folks. I'll see you again in the paper 2 once I finish uploading them. Bye-bye.